Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Let's Discuss Cafe, where we dive into the fascinating world of law with some of the sharpest minds in the legal industry. Today, we have got a special treat for you. Joining us is somebody who is not only a powerhouse in corporate law, but also an intellectual property expert. Please give a warm welcome to the Legal Counsel at HP India, the incredible Niyati Ojha. So, Niyati, thanks a lot for joining us on podcast today.
Thank you so much. It's all of my pleasure. Thank you for calling me here. I'm super excited and I don't know what's in store, but I think it's going to be a fun conversation we're going to have today.
We hope so. So, first up, can you share with us your journey from an associate at law firms to your current role as legal counsel at HP?
Sure, so I'm not going to start from my journey as an associate. Rather, I'll take a little more of a back step. Right? Let's go along, right? So I always wanted to be a lawyer. Okay, so for me, I think I was in seventh standard when I decided that I want to be a lawyer. I had told my parents and everybody, and this is the time, I'm not really long back, but sometimes when parents would be like, "You're not a doctor, you're not an engineer. Why are you getting into law?" So, but my parents were really supportive and. They said, okay, she's decided she wants to be a lawyer. Let's just help her whatever she wants to do. So great. I start, and that was the time when we did not have CLAT. We had independent examinations, right? For all the test for the entrance exam. So I wrote all of those entrance exams and missed a few by some marks. And then I eventually everything worked out in a way that I got into ILS Law College where I did my graduation in Pune. So that was actually the way which started, that gave me my landing page, and that's how I started the entire career in law. Now, being a first generation lawyer, you're very clear of the fact that you don't know most of the things, right? Whatever your college teaches you, this is what it is. Nobody in my family was also a lawyer. So it was a big shock even for my family that, okay, we're getting a lawyer in the family. But that's how it started. So imagine ILS Law College is a legacy college, right? And you have all your legal legends who are there, and they used to come and they used to give us speeches. And imagine this first year, second year law student with starry eyes, or being so sure that she's going to be like a litigating lawyer, or she's going to be one of them there, right? Because law at that time was never a corporate lawyer person. You have to wear your gown, you have to wear your band, and that's what you are. So I was also on the same journey that this is what's going to happen with me also. I'm very clear. It's so ironic that I was actually the head coordinator of my college's placement cell, right? So getting people to get a job in corporate governance is what I used to do, but I did not fit the placement. My mother used to be like, "You are so stupid. Why aren't you doing this?" I didn't fit the placement. Now, like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a litigating lawyer. That's my plan. So it started off then there. I graduated, and then I obviously interned at a lot of places. I understood things, but internship, I think at that time also you don't know what's happening, right? You're just like it's just going on. So internship happened, and then I finished college, and then I joined a law firm, and that was where it was the most surprising part for me, right? So I joined the law firm, the litigation department for sure, right? And you will not believe after a while I was just like, this is not made for me. I am not made to do this at all, right? I used to come back home crying in the evening and I used to be like, why did I take this decision? So for me, the biggest problem, or I would say culture shock, was the fact that imagine this girl, seventh standard, has planned that she wants to be a lawyer, and now when she's actually reached that stage, it's just not working out. And I was so dejected, and it was really difficult. Right? So, and then at that time, I was working in a law firm which had other departments, as well, so litigation and corporate departments. And I so categorically remember I went to my manager and I was like, "This is not happening. I can't be a litigating lawyer. I cannot go to court every day. This is not happening." And he was like, "Okay, now what next?" I said, "I don't know. I had one plan in my mind. I had zero plan B. Now I'm telling you what we need to do, right?" So he was really helpful and he said, "Okay, let's put you in another department. Let's see how you figure out there. We'll take it from there." Yeah, I said, "Give me something that I can stick because I almost want to take another culture shock, right?" So I think he had a vision which I didn't, and he said, okay, we'll put you in the IP department. Right. And I think that time you talked about 2012, 2013, right? It was good. It was very upcoming. There was a lot of potential. Obviously, there still is, but imagine that time. And so I was like, okay, I went into the IP team. Absolutely no knowledge about IP because in college I'd never taken IP, right? I'm not taking anything. All my optionals would have also been something related to litigation only because that's what I wanted to do. So I got into IP and I started doing IP. I started learning from the basics, got a lot of experience. And obviously, then I realized that yes, I do have an interest in corporate law, in intellectual property law, that side of it, not the litigation side of it. And that's when I said bye, a very sad, tearful goodbye to my gowns and everything. And I said, okay, I'll come back to you later if it's going to ever happen, right? So my journey has been like from starting from there to become a law firm lawyer, like a associate was so dramatic. So then life happened, this happened. I was being a part of really good intellectual property.
What was the exact cause? What was the cultural shock in the litigation? Like nobody knows, like, in the college, we are not aware of what it's gonna be like in litigation. We have seen in the movies that, there's this katgara where the people come in and you'll rarely find katgaras in the actual courts, especially in the right. So that's definitely is there. But what, like, to a person, right, who from the seventh or eighth class had just one plan that I am going to be litigator, what happened that you got so digested against litigation?
So I've got a lot of time to think, right, from the time I left litigation till now to actually pinpoint what's the exact reason could have been. At that particular time, I wasn't able to determine it. But when I got a lot of time to think, I felt personally I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And that is one very big learning that I had. So let me explain. So I've been born and raised in Chennai, but I am not a South Indian. So I do have a language background. Now, everybody would say that, listen, you've been born and raised there. The least you can do is learn their language. Okay? But Pahal is very difficult. Let's not even try to dispute that. So, one,
Right.
it's a difficult language. And second, I never had that kind of exposure even in school because I was in a convent educated school and they needed only English to be as a primary language to speak. So, I never, in fact, got influenced to learn Tamil the way I was supposed to, right? And so the all the Tamil I knew was through my domestic help and through my driver who was there. Of course, they don't have good movie language.
You were practicing in Chennai.
I wasn't. Yes. So I finished college and I came back to Chennai, Madras High Court. So I decided let me start from a home ground. I at least have a lot of, it's a comfortable environment, right? So that was my intent. Now, I don't deny high courts have English as their primary language, but imagine an associate is not going to go and argue with the high court on the first day, right? She's going to do registry work, she's going to go into the lower courts and all. And there the primary language was Tamil, right? So for me, language barrier became such a huge deterrent to be able to go there the next day. So they were like, the ask from the associate would have been, the company would have been very simple. Just go get that matter listed for the next day. It would be as simple as that. But for me to go to the registry to explain to them that I need to be listed on the other day, I need all of these things, that became a little problematic position for me. So that was one big learning, which I also now tell my students when I teach them, like, try to look for place which have your inherent comfort. And language is one very important thing. Now, imagine something from Delhi and going and working in the Calcutta High Court immediately. And so that kind of a divide, it was very difficult for me at that time. And the second thing is, I also believe if you do not have a good senior, right, or somebody who is actually willing to forget the money part of it or anything, somebody who's not willing to teach you, somebody who still believes that an associate is just freshly graduated associate is just somebody who has to carry your bags or carry your files, I know you're just taking a adjournment, So if you have that kind of a senior who puts themselves over you, I think that's always a deterrent. And while I don't blame any company or anybody from where it started, but unfortunately, I've never had those kind of seniors who would have guided me to say that, okay, listen, your work is just not to carry a bag, right? Your work is more than that. And of course, it takes a longer duration to reach where he's standing, but there's a path to it. So that was a huge problem for me at that time. And I feel if I would have been at a more conducive place, like even for example, even Mumbai or like Bombay High Court for that matter, like Pune, I studied in Pune, so Mumbai would have been a better option for me. So even a Bombay High Court may have been a better decision, but I think at that time you're so young, you're so like you're finished 5 years of college, you just want to go back home, you just want to stay at home ground, and so probably that's the reason where when I shut it, I just shut it. Right? So that's what happened with me. So
Kind of makes sense. I can completely relate to your story. And you and I share a lot of commonalities when it comes to career trajectory. So I also graduated from Pune, just FYI.
oh,
I don't know, Bharati Vidyapeeth.
okay,
Right.
right. Good. Yeah, it's very close by. Both are very close.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's pretty much, and I completely agree with the lack of having seniors, especially in the early part, right? Who are willing to kind of teach you, or who are willing to kind of guide you. And probably both of us lack that. That's we are so enthusiastic about educating the next generation that
Yes.
you can get it, right? But I'll give you a caveat over there, right? A difficult boss is a different thing, and a boss who is not willing to teach you is a different, right? So I would say having a first difficult boss, is a very good thing. Like in the hindsight,
Taskmaster. Yeah.
so in the hindsight, what I see, the first couple of years when I was working in the law firm, it was really difficult, and they were really demanding, and there were so many things, right? But that kind of initial exposure groomed me to tackle so many great things in the later part of my life, right? So if you are unhappy with the boss, that is not a bad thing. But at the same time, make sure that that the boss is making your life difficult, but you are also getting learning out of it, right? The boss is willing to teach you, or at least tell you, okay, go and read these things, then come back to me, right? So that's definitely true. So yeah, litigation is a tough part of story. Not knowing the language definitely was a big barrier. So what about other local languages? Like, are you comfortable in Marathi, Hindi, or something of that sort?
So primarily it's always English and Hindi. Hindi is what we speak at home, and English is of course what we discuss. So that said, I can speak Tamil. It's not that I cannot speak Tamil at all, but the Tamil would always have a slang attached to it. Most of the times, my colleagues and peers in Chennai would never understand that. They would make so much fun. So it when we were working, like when I was working in Chennai, the lunch table conversation, there used to always be a segment where Niyati will speak in Tamil so that all of us can have a good laugh and, unwind our day. And I would just be like, okay. And they would make me speak in Tamil that time. So it's not that I cannot speak, I cannot understand. It's just maybe it wasn't so fluent. And especially that time, right? When I stayed in Chennai after graduating, that's when I picked up a lot more Tamil. But at that time, it was very bad. Like, so.
So let me ask this question. Do you think like switching from litigation to other fields, instead of switching your region, moving from Chennai to say North, right? Was that the right move in your opinion in the hindsight?
In hindsight, I would have done better if I had moved regions for sure.
Right.
Okay. See, I'll tell you something. There is, and with time now, experience teaches us a lot of things, right? With time, I've realized something. If a person has a passion for something, they will surely excel at it. Okay. It's just the word of passion. Now, law for me was a passion. It was not something that somebody forced me into it. There's a very close to a heart reason for me to actually join law, even in seventh standard, right? So when that cause was so personal to me, and I had a passion for it, I would have surely excelled in it. I know for a fact. I don't think, in all modesty and humility, it's not in a way that I'm being really cocky about myself, but the fact is, I know that I didn't do it out of being forced. I had the right amount of support. I had a great family support. I had a lot of friends who were very supportive. So I had all the boxes were ticked for me. So if I had actually changed my location rather than changing the field itself, I think I would have done better for sure. And I would have continued to stick in litigation if that was the situation. The thing was, again, I don't blame anybody externally. It was still so internal to me that I felt, okay, I stayed 5 years away from home, and I left home when I was barely 17, and now I'm coming back at 21, 22, a proper full grown woman, and probably I need to stay at home a little more. right? So, but to the younger generation now, I always tell them that don't find comfort in your house. It's always easy to have that comfort, but with struggle comes success. So, and I see the younger generation doing that. So I feel that that's good. You always have that option to stay at home, to stay in the comforts of your house, all of those things. But real success comes with struggle. It just doesn't work if you're not struggling, right? Again, I'm not saying that people, okay, struggle is very personal to everybody. Somebody's like my mantra is, somebody with a chipped fingernail, that could be a struggle for them. For them, it's like, oh my God, my nail isn't perfect. And for somebody just getting like, or next meal is a struggle. So I think struggle as a word is very personal for everybody, but uh, the success comes when you have to go through that struggle. So if I would have changed regions, for sure, I would have stayed back in litigation, but no regrets because I feel what I've reached here and what I've achieved here is something that I connect a lot more. It suits, it blends with my personality. I don't think that I am merely doing law. It just feels like a single entity. So for me, that is a comfort zone that I've achieved with this experience. So no regrets.
Happy to hear that. So please continue. You're done with litigation. You move to IP there. Then
Yeah. So I practiced IP for a really long time because there's just so much potential in that field, and I had really good mentors, and I loved IP. Okay. And I think 7 or 8 years I practiced IP. I would actually make fun to say that I became so good at IP that I can do it in my sleep. Like people can ask me anything about trademarks, copyright, designs, whatever, and I would have it in I could speak in my sleep. So IP was good. IP was interesting, but IP became a comfort zone for me after a long time. And I was like, this is good. Everything is good. There's money, there's comfort of house, there's everything. But I always kept feeling that I am not named service. There's something more. I need to do something more. And again, this is so very personal because it's not that I'm going and making a change in the society as of now with this, all of those, but I kept feeling that I can do something more. I always had this nagging thought, that you should never stay in your comfort zone. You should always try and break your comfort zone. I think that's something that we've been raised with. That's the whole, my parents have always believed that life lies beyond your comfort zone. So I know I was in my comfort zone. But that was the time that I had actually taken up teaching as well because I think it was comfortable. I had a lot of good free time in my hands. So what I used to do is during weekends, I used to teach students who are interested in doing the law entrance class, right? So I would teach them law, not just law per se. I would also give them a little bit of life lessons, right? So my kids, I would always tell them, you think I'm giving you gap, but tomorrow you should know that when this works, it's not just gap. So my children, the kids used to really adore me and I had a good time. So weekends used to be, it's difficult, right? So weekends so week you're working, Monday to Friday you're working. Saturday and Sunday, I used to start my day at 8, the sessions at 8. And with multiple sessions, I used to actually work till 7 in the evening. So I actually absolutely had no personal life at all. It used to always be just either I'm working or I'm teaching. But the kind of happiness you get to teach, I would never trade that for anything else. So it used to be frustrating sometimes, but I just didn't want to give that up. So when I shifted from Chennai and I came to Gurgaon as well, I continued teaching. I was affiliated with the same institution that I used to teach. And that was really good, which I think I have been teaching for the last 6 to 7 years now with a lot of passion, with a lot of happiness. So that comfort zone, the feeling, that's it. I will be doing this forever. Isn't there something you need to do more? That happened. Okay? And this was the problematic part because you were a specialist. It's like, how they say grades don't matter in school, but eventually when you take somebody, you see, okay, your grades are the most important thing. So it's something like that. So I was like, okay, I'd be a knowledgeable lawyer. I know things, I'm aware of things, etc. But I would just never, I resume would never go into a company. So I think my next venture should be to get into a company, probably their legal department or whatever, right? But that should be my next venture. I'm, I'm not joking. I'm not making it up, but I've applied for I more than 200 companies, okay? And I have got rejections from all of them, literally. So I'm like, yeah, you were so surprised. And first rejection, second rejection, you're like, okay, whatever. By the 50th rejection, you're okay, positive, and I would just be like, looking at my rejection in my like, I'll be like, okay, at least you've been sweet enough to send that rejection. I knew the reason. I knew the reason was very simple. I'm a specialist. I'm doing IT, and I have enough years of work experience, right? So my PQE is really high. It's a good 8 to 9 years of work experience, but it's all at IT. A company is not going to invest at somebody at such a high level of experience to, do something general. So that was a really tough shift, and I think I feel that that's one of the most challenging parts of my career when I had to shift from a specialist to a journalist. And it's also a big blow at your confidence. I wouldn't say ego, but your self confidence, right? You know your work. You know you can do something. But those rejection emails, and I would have sleepless nights. See, I had a job. It's not that I did not have a job. I had the money. I had everything, but it was just not comfortable. It was just not what I wanted. So that shift happened. I applied at HP, and I got in, and I went through the rounds of interviews, and I told my manager upfront, and I was like, I have IP experience. And the funny part is, at HP, and that's what he told me. I so vividly remember our first conversation. He told me, we don't do IP in India at all. IP is handled as a worldwide. Yeah, but we don't touch IP in India. I was like, I got it. And then he's like, whatever you're going to do is going to be completely new and something that you've never done before.
Yeah.
It was really challenging. I don't know, he saw what he identified, what he did, and I got the job with HP. And then there's been no looking back after that, because HP has been like a roller coaster, and it's still is, right? You see those highs and lows going on every single day. So it's an absolute pleasure to know that I'm in an organization where one, I was identified, I wasn't taken as a specialist. I was identified as a candidate. And the second part of it was the fact that every single day has so much to learn. So actually, as an organization, shy from teaching. Like they say, I think it comes from the leadership itself. They say there are no stupid questions. Ask whatever you want to. There will just be an answer, right? So that's the journey that I see on. But I did stop teaching for a while because too pressurizing. You're trying to figure your own things out. You're trying to learn new things. You don't have, and I didn't want to do an injustice with the kids, right? If I'm not giving my 100% there, then it's no point, even being there. So that was the reason. That's been like a career trajectory of mine, from litigation to associate to today the legal counsel for HP.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that story. It was really enlightening. And, making that transition from IP to general corporate practice is really difficult, right? And, you shared your struggles for that, right? But anything specific that you want to say, like if somebody wants to make that transition from IP with, 5 to 6 years of PQE, right? What should they do?
I think my experience says 2-3 things. One is your professional side, right? Even if you are an IP lawyer, while yes, you need to have in-depth knowledge about the area that you specialize in. Yes, that's the least that asked about it. But do ensure to be well-read about anything else that's happening, right? So let's just take like now, everybody is talking about AI. Everybody in this world is talking about AI. I cannot restrict myself to say, okay, I'm going to read about AI because I'm an IP lawyer. To also copyrights or patents, even if they are also connected, right? Or for that matter, India is at such a geographically or, as of now, politically, India is at such a crossroad. So it is very important to read about India's standing at the world level. To be well aware, I'm not saying go in depth and go bring out your constitution law book fully. Obviously, college has taught you basics, right? But to be well informed about things which are apart from your specialization. And that's what I recommend to anybody who's intending to do a transition. Today, I may not know exactly the process of a Section 138 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. I may not know exactly how am I supposed to do that application or something, but I at least know that this kind of a concept exists. This is what I'm supposed to be aware about. So being well informed is a better word rather than to be saying well read about anything. So I very clearly told everybody around me that I don't look, for even something simple as a consumer protection law, right? I don't know the details about it. Yes, of course, I know what are the rights, what is available, what are the forums, etc. But no, for me to get into the depth, I can do it only if I'm working about it. But to be there, nobody can say, I shouldn't be scratching my head to be like, what is consumer protection? How is that even applicable and all of that? So, they should be well there. And the company for whom they're giving that interview, I should surely read about that company. I feel that is such an underrated activity that people, and especially the younger generation, don't do. It makes complete sense to read about the organization, to see their values, to understand what they exactly do. Every company has a vision. Ensure you understand their vision and fit yourself in that vision. That is what is very important. So, two, three things from the professional side, it's very important. Personal side, I think there's just one word which is called as determination. You should be determined to do it, right? 200 companies can reject your application, there'll be just one, and that one will be the right one for you. So hold on to, don't ever feel that, okay, I'm not worth it because 200 companies rejected me. That doesn't matter at all. So determination is so important at this crossroad, right, where you're looking at the fact that you need to make that transition. If you don't have that confidence in yourself, it's just not going to work.
Makes sense. So moving on, in your vast legal career, which case or project challenged your understanding of law in the most profound way?
So again, now with this, I cannot pinpoint it to say that this is the one thing that's challenged me per se, because now that you've heard about my story, the entire transition has been so challenging, right? So today, if I say that, okay, this one particular deal that I did was challenging, would not be justifiable, because the other 6 deals that I have done, while they may not have been challenging per se, it has still been new for me and something that is very different from my case. So as of now, I feel the biggest challenge that I had is the whole role of transition, how I have done the transition, and at each step. Okay, so let's just look at a real life situation. Something new comes up to you, and you have absolutely no idea how to fix that up. So first, you go back to the drawing board, you read, you try to understand, you speak with people who have the experience, and try to gather some knowledge. The entire process itself to give them that answer is so challenging.
Right.
And then let's be very honest about it. I always remember this story. I don't know. It's a very well-known story, right? Like there was a ship which had an issue, and then got all the biggest engineers to come and fix it, and nobody was able to fix it. And suddenly they got this old man, and he tapped that one place, and the ship got fixed. And then he raised a bill of $10 million or something, and he's like, and the people can, you just spend 2 minutes, right? Why 10 million? And he said, it's the amount of experience I had because I knew where to tap. It's a very known story, but it's so relevant also. So for us, the challenge to reach that situation, to gather that learning, to be able to handle and deal that way, right, is so important. So I would not attribute it to one. I would rather say the entire process for it.
Great diplomatic answer there. Okay, well, right. Spill the beans. Who was your heartthrob back in college? We don't want to know about your personal life, but we want to know about your academic dalliances.
Okay, that's an interesting question. So, you could have asked me about my personal life. That would have been so much easier to answer. But yes. Right. Now that you tag me as a diplomatic person who gives diplomatic answers, it's a little difficult. But again, like I want to tell you, during college, okay, again, getting back to ILS, and ILS have such a great alumni, and the college itself really invest in their students, right, to get them that experience, that exposure, etc. So, well, all of these legends used to come and speak, right, in the hall. We used to, us kids used to sit like this with those starry eyes and say that we're going to be that person someday, right? And each of them had such a unique offering from their experience, etc. So, I never felt that I really idolized one person in the profession per se. And also because I always wanted to have a mark of my own in this profession. So I never was able to idealize somebody to say that, okay, he's my crush or he is somebody that I idolize. I would rather say, let the profession be my crush. Why now? Because I've always wanted to be a lawyer, because I know this is what I want. I would say it's just the profession. So I can't think of one person to say, okay, this guy said something or did something which has really made me like him.
Right.
Yeah. Younger ages was like, we used to, and I remember we used to stay in the hostel, and I'm sure anyway, all of my peers listening, my college friends listening, they would also relate to it. And hostel girls had like the advantage because we were just sitting there, right? So we would just go running to get the first seats and ensure that we are listening to them and all of those things. But yeah, no specific.
Makes sense. Asha, I always wanted to get this controversy cleared. Like, is there a pahar that ILS has like captured and they don't allow Simbi people to come there? Is that some truth to this statement?
So IELTS does have a hill of its own, okay? Now, I don't know the legality part of it, but we know we have an IELTS hill. And in fact, the girls' hostel is so strategically placed that from our the windows, the backside, the hills are, visible. So, yes, IELTS does have a hill for itself. It's called IELTS Hill. We've checked it a lot of times. It used to be like a weekend thing to do, go check the hill, and we used to go have a small picnic on top, all of those things. Did we not allow Sindhi people to come?
Asha,
I mean, we are very possessive about our stuff. We can't heal at the end of the day.
right.
And Sindhi, I think, had a wheel of their own also. So they had something there, so we just didn't want them to come to us. But I can very confidently say that we used to allow everybody to come to the mess. ILS mess was very famous. I don't know if you've ever come. If the next time you go to Pune, please go to the mess.
Okay, that's
Right. Yeah, and we used to, I know people from different colleges used to come there, and people after I graduated also told me, mess ka khana acha tha." I don't know now what's the situation though.
like shouldn't do this. But anyway, now we have surprise for you. This is time for rapid fire round, full
Okay.
style. Okay, so you have to answer the questions quickly. So, best book ever read besides Black's Law Dictionary, of course. And what was the book that made you go wow?
Okay, rapid fire to yes, Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini is my absolute favorite. If there is a book that's been able to stir emotions up, and he has written a trilogy. I don't like the other two books. It's just this Thousand Splendid Suns that I really. That was a book that actually made me cry. All right, and I know it's an adaptation of the Women of Afghanistan and all of those things, but I was reading that book and I was crying, and I was like, "This if this book has the power to do this, imagine what that writer must have seen, right?" So that's a book that I really hold on to. Of course, there are a lot of other books which I really like. Even the just on the Seven Rooms of Ali Al Maida is something which I felt the book of price, which I felt it's so well written, but stirring up emotions, I think nobody can do it as good as Khalid in The Thousand Splendid Suns. He's not done it anywhere. I'm very disappointed.
Okay, next, your life's mantra.
My life mantra is trust the process. There is a process. There is a bigger good. There is something that's there for you. Trust it. Do your mistakes, learn from them, never repeat them, but trust.
Right. Moving on to the next question. What is the one thing you can't live without?
Food, air, not your end. Not the essentials, but I have a very bad habit about my phone. I agree that it's a bad habit, right? Like I feel I'm those kind of people who wake up and the first thing they see is their phone. So I don't like that habit of mine. I try to change it. I try to stay away from it, but the phone is something.
While talking to us, you happened.
It just rang as well, so I don't look at it. So I love my phone.
So we'll let you go then. We have time for a one-liner answer. What is the best professional advice you have ever received so far?
Is make mistakes,
Yeah.
own them, own your mistakes. I think that, and this is not one person who's told this to me, but this is something that eventually life has given me as an advice. I make a mistake. The more I try to cover it up, so it's going to become worse. Rather, there is a mistake, accept it, own it, buy it, because nobody is ever going to say, listen, you made a mistake. This is not, you're just done for, right? You're human at the end of the day. Make your mistake, learn from that, own them. This is your mistake. I take it up. I will learn from it. If you're committing the same mistake twice, that means you've not learned from it. That's a no-go. But if you've learned from it, you own them and you don't make them again, I think it's just an experience.
Wow. Well said. So, Nidhi, thanks a lot for coming on this podcast and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an exciting time to speak about all of this. And I really wish you all the best with all your work that you're doing. I think before we started this conversation, you said something about you owning it up, right? Like how you create your first enterprise, whatever you did. I think that is the way it works. You own data and so confidently that I think that is something you should be doing, show more to the world, right? That you own nothing. Damn excited to be a part of this, and I'm so happy. I'm going to closely follow up with what you're going to do next.
Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Let's Discuss Cafe. A huge thank to our amazing guest Niyati for sharing her insights and experiences. Remember, folks, if you have enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Follow Niyati on LinkedIn to keep up with her latest adventures in the legal world. Until next time, keep it legal, keep it legendary, and always have a backup plan for your data breaches. Take care, everyone. See you in the next episode.